And today is Tuesday, August 21st, 2018. Get ready for the Emerging Sea broadcast system, the Forbidden History series, what they didn't want you to know, that we tell right here. Now's the time to call your friends. Good to hear, Lydia. We now interrupt your normally scheduled programming to bring you this very important deprogramming program. And special thanks to YouTube.com for hosting the Forbidden History series. Please note that the following views and opinions expressed on this program are not necessarily the views nor the opinions of the Master Force Group, YouTube.com, Free America Radio Network, our sponsors, our partners, and MFG is a private society. Nothing here is ever to be construed as medical, hate, nor legal advice. And listen to the Forbidden History prime time 7 days a week right here on the realpublicradio.net, because hidden beneath the sands of time lies the greatest of all mysteries. It's the Forbidden History. Unearth for yourself the secret truths that lie hidden just beneath the surface below our feet. What is it that the powers that be do not want you or I to know? Come and journey with us as we explore and dare to know, because it's all right here, coming your way 7 days a week at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time on the realpublicradio.net, Free America Radio Network. It's what they didn't want you to know that we tell right here. And good morning, Hans. Good to have you to the broadcast. Lydia, glad you got your notifications going again. That's great. Coming to you live from Studio Z at the Lighthouse in Central Ohio in the heart of Amish country, and Free America Radio Network in the land of dreams, enchantments, and nightmares. It's the Forbidden History series, the great lies of history, the duality in patterns and pictures revealed in nature, symbolism, movie review, books review, we got galore here, and also the piracy of words, the words that they killed us with, ladies and gentlemen. Don't you want to know? Of course you want to know. And good morning, y'all love. Good to have you. And yes, indeed, we are the deprogramming program. Well, I don't actually know of any other one out there, so it's definitely needed for sure. Right now, not to take away from a lot of the other good researchers and people out there doing great work, but very often we find a lot of the truth still mixed with the deceptions and the lies. Not that those people created them, you know, where people just begin to parrot the things that are not true, and they repeat over and over, and ultimately then what was a lie becomes the truth. And that is such an irony, ladies and gentlemen. It is the battle for the mind. The truth is the light, but ignorance is the darkness, and through ignorance they put on the cloak of light when they're empty inside and there is nothing there but the grand illusion. These are the great antagonists, light and darkness. But once we can begin to comprehend the true nature of things as they really are, then we can begin to comprehend that there is nothing really more to complain about, ladies and gentlemen. We just need to look up to the sky of the great one who made all things, because he is the revealer. He has all power. Anyone else only has a perceived power. They're here for just a blip on the radar screen and they're gone. Okay? But we can transcend and live forever. That's the good news. And you don't know what you don't know until you listen in, ladies and gentlemen. Okay? It is the great truth unfolding by Yeshua himself. He is the institutor of this work, of this great broadcast, and of all of you, of course. and good morning, Teresa. Thank you. And but if you don't know where you're going, you know, then any road will get you there. Tune into any channel, kick back, have a beer, get some potato chips, put the feet up on the hassock, and watch that boob tube and all those boobs, right? That's what they got them doing, okay? And it's a real tragedy for, of all things that great civilizations can create, there's only one thing they cannot create, ladies and gentlemen, and that is light. And let there be light. And I'm your host, a desert owl, a bird who sees in the night, And you know, the best way to identify the truth is to identify the great lies of history. And that's what we do right here every day, Yahweh willing, and Yeshua breathing, because I breathe the shavors that he has put in my mouth, and I am obligated to speak truth from the highest mountaintop. And you know, it takes a million lies to cover that first lie. And in fact, it's easier to lie to people than it is to convince them that they lied to. Isn't that just a great irony, ladies and gentlemen? You can point up at the sky, right, sky watchers, and they still don't get it. You can show them with their own eyes. Look at what you're looking at. Don't you see? Go look at the old, the old pictures. Go and they've been looking, at the boob tube all these years. They just got programmed. Oh, in fact, that's the reason I don't use the word show. This is not a show. This is a deprogramming program, but I use the word program because show is an anagram, and backwards it's wash. You see? So programming, or excuse me, so a show or showing backwards is washing. SHOWING, the anagram backwards is washing. Okay? Brainwashing. That's what they do with their shows. Having a party, good time, laugh, ha ha ha. Like Carol Burnett. I mean, she was obviously pretty good and cute with Tim Conway and the rest of the crew. They all had me going at one time, And while she's giving her little Eastern Star pull of her earlobe, and then her other little hand signals flashing through the air on the stage, I didn't know all that, but I remember once it was pointed out to me. Yeah, of course, there's the Eastern Star witch right there, keeping everybody under the spell while the Eastern Stars in the audience are wiggling their earlobes and back saying, "We got you, we got you." Yeah, we got everybody fooled, don't we, ladies and gentlemen? I'm telling you, they claim to be the possessors. That's what the code of the GH is all about. We've talked about the GH. Look at your keyboard, right on your computer. The two middle letters in the very center of all the alphabet is the GH, and it's the word return in the code, because they intend to keep everything for themselves. They give you a mortgage, and then they took back your house, and you don't even know why, or they didn't even want to work with you. They got real title to property, and they give you nothing but an illusion. You never got money ever at any time, and you monetized the house purchase with your signature, going back to HJR 192 and the bankruptcy of America with the more emergency powers, and through the Treasury, your Treasury account, you created the illusion that purchased the house, your signature. Okay, the power was in your pen, and that's why they want you to sign in at jail when you go to jail, because they're going to monetize your birth certificate, slave. Okay, so at least if they're going to have the game on us, at least let's know what the game is. They can throw us in jail, sure. Even if we don't sign in, they may spit us out in 72 hours, and it happens very often because you can't play the game. You don't want to play the game, you won't play the game. But very often, then they'll figure out another way to trick you. They often do, or they'll torture you. That's another way they do it. And hello, Cynthia. That's right, Cynthia. They killed us. That's why a child, as soon as you come into the world, they say, "Oh, it's a child." Oh, well, that means chilled and killed. In High Germanic, it's cold. The cold, because you got cold, you're chilled. You're cold, you're killed. And if you're a baby, if you say you got a baby, then maybe you said you got a citizen of Babylon, because that's the very first word in Babylon. You see, and I think it is Babylon, isn't it? Of course it is. That's why they were so happy with that program, 5 Babylons or what it was. Never watched it, okay? 5 Babylons. I'm going to watch that? Give me a break. The game is cursing yourself with the cursive signature. Well, of course. And then they got us using the cursor on the computer, Hans, right? I mean, they got us cursing every day. It's amazing. But the good news is, if we know the trick, we can say, okay, you had a little fun. You got away with it for a while. But in the end, you're going back to dirt, and we can transcend. And that's what we intend to do, ladies and gentlemen. And so got a trail to go down. And so let me just open up my Farrar Fenton scriptures and turn on a little light here. And I think I need to bump up my fan. And so I was reading this morning in Isaiah in chapter 51. And actually Fenton is the only one that identified the poetry within Isaiah, and he broke them down into odes. So within the scriptures in Isaiah are the odes. This is Ode 38, which is Isaiah chapter 51, starting in verse 4. And I just saw it was very appropriate for today, you know. And I'll read down to the key line. Okay, I'm telling you, Fenton is a miracle. This is the best transliteration of our scripture today, ladies and gentlemen. Next to George Lamb's, combined, they bring you back closer to the original than anything. But if we have time enough and the ability, we will get the go beyond it with the Indo-Germanic and get back closer to the original. But here in Ode 38, chapter 51, verse 4, my race, listen to me, and my nation, hear my voice. For from me has come the pure shelter. That's the original for the law. And that's at high noon. Justice, light, the troubled tribes. And that should be plural, I guess. Justice lights the troubled tribes. And my equity in advance. And my soul novation greet. My arm, the tribes do guide. The islands all hope for me. Here we are being called islands. Remember they said no man's an island? And here it is again. It's over and over in Isaiah. I can't get over it. We're being called islands. So I guess a man is an island, right? I feel pretty much like an island all by myself over here, surrounded by criminals and with all this great knowledge Heavenly Father gave me. Which I'm sharing with all of you. I'm trying to unload it as quick as possible, just as a backup program. Good morning, Lynn. Good to have you here. And Mew Mew and everybody else, any new listeners tuning in, okay? So the isles do hope for me. And on my power, they confide. Now here it is, okay? This is for the sky watchers. Raise up your eyes up to the sun and gaze down upon the earth below. For the skies do fade into smoke, and earth does wear out like a cloth of covering, and her people are dying like gnats, like flies. But my soul novation lasts, and my loving kindness in giving does not fail. Okay, so I highlighted the line, for the skies do fade into smoke, and the earth does wear out like a cloth of covering. So, okay, I think we see our skies fading into that smoke, don't we, ladies and gentlemen, right? So this is 2,700 years ago, give or take, right? And so it has very relevant meaning for today, where we're at. So I just wanted to share that with you. And get something over here. Yeah, we're definitely in trouble. I want to open again with the Gospel of Star Message of Tolma, because it's just such great wisdom, and we need as much as we can get, don't we, ladies and gentlemen? And I just realized my phone isn't set up here. Let me do that real quick. And by the way, if you do want to call in, the call-in number is 608-566-7295. That's 608-566-7295. If you have a great live history that you've stumbled upon, or do you just know about, or you want to talk about a certain word that you think they killed us with, I'd love to hear about it. And of course, internationally, if you can't call on the regular phone, you can call in on Skype. That's Free America Radio, all one word. That's Free America Radio. Okay, and love to hear from you. Or if you just want to say hi, do audio check. Just give a heads up. Okay, I know all of our friends out there love to hear from our friends that they've never spoken to before, but they've all been talking on all of the YouTube channels and texting each other. But it's certainly a different feel to get to hear somebody vibrating for the first time with their voice. It's So it's a forum here to do that, okay? And I'd love to have your call. So in the star message of Toma, out of the Nag Hammadi, but the star message of Toma was known prior to the Nag Hammadi. It was found in the Greek. So there's two witnesses to this being, you know, of course, a legitimate. Nobody can make this stuff up, ladies and gentlemen. You know, it's amazing that the occultists are running our world, and they give us all the commentaries on this stuff, and they do nothing but denigrate the sacred truth and the light. Oh, and before I read that, I just wanted, because I got to get some of these 3x5 cards off my desk. This one is important on the ABCs of light, the alphabet. Okay, remember Confucius said that signs and symbols rule the world. Well, okay, if signs and symbols rule the world, then okay, Cynthia, Jonathan Gleck is blowing the lid off so many truths right now. Everybody needs this revelation from, Lord God, which is Yahweh, who is the great Elohim. Okay, so anyway, so signs and symbols rule the world, and so what are the signs and symbols primarily that they're using to rule the world? It is the alphabet. That's how they're ruling the world, with the alphabet. When they drag you into court, do they not do it with paperwork, with words on there, symbols, right? So it is the alphabet, ladies and gentlemen. The signs and symbols rule the world, and they rule the world through communication. It is the foundation. And so we have to really get that picture that of all things, we've got to be masters over the shavors, over the words, or the words will be the master over us. And that's what happened. The words became master over us. We don't know what we mean when we say what we thought, what we said. We don't get it. And that's the grand illusion. Okay, it is in the communication, and it is in the communicative symbol. And then they're flashing their other symbols, telling everybody who they are. But because nobody can read anything, then they don't know that that's an occultic symbol. You know, like whether it's AT&T, the letters themselves are telling a story, or the Ma Bell, the bell, you know, for ball, BAAL, right? It's an amazing trickery that's going on, ladies and gentlemen. But they're shouting in front of you, and you don't even get it, you know. And that's the great irony in our world, the density of darkness and denial of the light of truth. Yeshua, and here we are in the star message of Toma. And by the way, you know, and they changed Evangelon was the original title for gospel, and it was Evangelon. But and Evangelon in essence means, you know, star message. But so they realized that was too obvious to anybody who would be an etymologist, and so they said, well, let's change that to gospel. Yeah, there we go. And so in the original, like with the King James, they spelt it G-O-D, G-O-S-P-E-L-L. And it's two words, and it says go spell. So you see, they're telling you right there, go spell, slave, if you can figure it out. And they got everybody repeating the word all the time, gospel, 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 saying go spell, go spell, go spell, but they never get the picture of what it means, you know. It's amazing. And by the way, I don't remember when it finally, you know, happened with me, but it was a good while before I finally, you know, saw it as well, because it's an amazing, you know, deception that they did it from, you know, we were in diapers, we're being lied to. Imagine being lied to, you know, and you know, you don't have to imagine, you know it. You don't have to imagine. So we got a lot of overcoming to do. That's for sure. So Yeshua breathed. And by the way, blessed, you know, is transliterated as Baruch Barucheth. Okay, and Bar means born. So literally, it means Barucheth means to be born of the endowment and the enlightenment. Okay, that's the primary sense, to be born of the endowment and the enlightenment. Okay, so Barucheth, endowed and enlightened with the mind's eye for seeing in the night, is the lion that the blood of the earth will eat. so that the lion becomes himself. And cursed is the blood of the earth that the lion will eat, and the lion will become the blood of the earth. And so the lion, of course, is represented by the light of the sun. The sun is the lion in this instance. And so we have to consume the lion, that fire of light. Okay? And then we, so let me read it again. Barucheth, born of the endowment and the enlightenment, with a mind's eye for seeing in the night, is that one who will eat, is the lion that the man will eat, so that the lion becomes the man. But cursed is the man that the lion will eat, that all-consuming fire, right? And the lion will become the earthly man. Well, actually just consume in becoming, right? So it's, in other words, it's just the judgment by fire is what it's referring to. So we either have to consume the light, or what's going to happen? The light will destroy us, right? It's one or the other. We either consume the light that is provided for us, or we will be destroyed by the light of fire. Basic, okay? But it's such a deep saying that, and they use the word human here, and it's a lousy term to use. So, but it's a better translation than James Robinson version of the Nag Hammadi. This is by Meyer, or M-E-Y-E-R, the Nag Hammadi Scriptures, Harper, San Francisco. Meyer, M-E-Y-E-R. So, and I compare them. I always get every possible translation of anything and compare them. And well, thank you, Ninja. Good to have you. So, okay, there we go, the Nag Hammadi. And Nag is the serpent, because that's where the bend of the river is. If you want to know where they discovered those, just look for the bend of the river up in the Upper Nile, and that's the Nag, that's the serpent. So, okay, and so real quick on the duality revealed in patterns and pictures in nature. Going back real quick to this thing about where the occult, all of them flashing their secret hand signs and stuff on television, all the politicians, and the military, and they all think, well, I got my ticket underground, so everything's okay. And hello, Ginny, good to have you, and Shelley, good to have you as well. So they think they got their ticket underground, but what are they saving, right? They're going underground, and they're going to preserve the illusion of who they are, right? Because they're not going to transcend this world and live forever, and so they're going to go down. They think that somehow they beat us, they tricked us, because they're going underground and they're going to be protected, right? When all they're protecting is the illusion of who they are, because they'll be going to dirt quicker than anyone else above ground. Basically, they may have a little more extended time, sure, but even if they lived out their life to be 70 or 80 and 90 or 100, they're still going back to dirt, and they preserve nothing, because they will be damned forever, most likely, for their wonderful efforts against mankind to destroy the earth. So they're going down to preserving the illusion, while we can stay on top and say it's okay. It's okay, because we know that we embrace the light of the reality, that we are not of this world and we are not flesh and blood. That is the illusion. And if we are in Yeshua and do everything he says and to live pure, then we've got power with him, and we are sovereign with the sovereign. That's why he's protected my life in so many dire straits. It's a miracle. When I saw so many wonderful patriotic Americans, and in particular when I was in the freedom movement, go down, because they were good people, but they didn't come to terms with the calling that was in Yeshua. And so therefore we're not, one with the one, or they may have the idea that they were, but they really weren't, because they weren't pursuing the fire of the lion, right? That we just read about. They were not pursuing the lion. They were diverted in the illusion, right? Yeah, and that's what we all get caught up in. There's the illusions. They've been plaguing me all my life, trying to step on them and be done with them. The element of despair that you might feel, or the sense of concern, what we call worry, those things creeping up in you like a little thorn in the flesh, and then you've got to pull it out because you forgot that you know the truth and that nobody has any power but Yahweh himself. With Yeshua was commissioned with all power. All the power of the stars of the cosmos are his. That's pretty powerful. And so it's here as our test. We're here as in a board game where we got to follow all the rules, and if we do, we can transcend. It's really pretty basic. So they want to protect the illusion of who they are, and it's the most disgusting illusion that we've ever wanted to witness. Right, when they want to sell out the rest of mankind for a secret handshake and a blood oath and a drink of blood and a ritual sacrifice of men, women, and children on the sacred altar, just like they did with the 9/11, World Trade Center. Okay, unreal. What a world we have, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, and we got to work our way through the haze and the dust and the fog and the illusion. So just back one more of the duality revealed, that Israel became Babylon. Bottom line. And that's in the metaphor, but Israel, correctly called Israel, was dissolved and banished in 730 BC, and then after then they were banished into Babylon and Assyria and Nineveh, and then the Babylonians and the Assyrians moved in and took over that culture, and then pretended to be Israel by adopting all the customs of Israel because they knew they were in the land of Israel and did not want to offend the gods. And therefore, they learned the customs through the priests that were allowed to come back. And so the priests were put back in power in order to indoctrinate the population. So it's a pseudo is Israel, pseudo Israel, which is called Samaria, and and then the two tribes were banished to Babylon officially 200 years later when Nebuchadnezzar came down and conquered Zedekiah and took them all back. Okay, so in this duality, then we're being shown that what took over, what came back out of Babylon when Cyrus the Persian king, after their 70 years in exile for Judah, came back into Jerusalem to rebuild the temple. Well, it was a pseudo Judah. It was Babylon. It was Babylon that moved into Jerusalem. Okay, and that's why from that point on, they'd always been under foreign occupation of a priesthood, a false priesthood, Babylonian Talmud, the Greek Empire, then the Roman Empire, and they killed all the legitimate priests that would have been, if there could have been a legitimate priesthood. They made sure, and Herod participated in that, Herod Antifa. Okay, and so all we have, so what we see then in this idea of religion, what is the story telling us? What came back is pseudo-Israel, Babylon. Babylon came back and took over officially, a total switch out, and Hans, you're saying Israel was set up many times. It did fall and vanquished many times. Repeat seeding. Right. So anyway, the point is that so what we see in religion is what we see overtly. Let's use that terminology. Overtly in our world is the Babylon. We see Babylon. In fact, even Kefe, Peter used that code word. He didn't use the word Jerusalem. He said that I'm writing to those in Babylon. Okay, so he even referred to Jerusalem as Babylon. Okay, he knew that's my second witness. Okay, right there in that very statement, what I'm conveying here is confirmed. He was using the terminology. You see, so we have to know then, therefore, that this story, this picture, in other words, we know that Yahweh knew what they were going to do. He knew they were going to fall. He knew that they were going down. You see, when he instituted it, because it was, remember, they weren't able to receive the true tablets. They weren't even able to receive the true tablets. They were banished, or they were broken at the altar with the golden calf. And so what it meant was that this was just a temporary stage where the story, therefore, is being created for us in the massive population on planet Earth in our modern time for the last 2,000 years, plus if we go back to the exile, 1,500 more. The story is created for us so that we can get the pictures that are derived through here, that there was a true tradition, just like now what we call Christianity, right? That there was the true tradition was established. The true tradition was established, but then it was taken over by the Roman Empire. Okay, they redrafted all the writings and they created a pseudo Christianity. The word Christianity doesn't even belong in the Eastern tradition. It's the circle of the perfect circle of the called out ones is literally what they were also called the Munda, I believe, and then also a term of Mashiach, which is the original word for Messiah, is also Mashiach game, plural. So if we would use a title, then it would be Mashiach game. And even who was it? Polycarp, I believe, he said that there's no other title that we can make other than Mashiachim. Okay, that's the only title we're allowed to make, is what was given to us, that we become Mashiach game with the Mashiach, because we are here now as saviors to the world, speaking truth, so that others might be saved. So he speaks through us. And so we have pseudo-Christianity, and therefore we have to realize that he called, just like he called Israel to be a separate people, it's the same thing. He's calling us out to be a separate people. Come out from Babylon. Come out from Babylon, ladies and gentlemen, okay? So that's the true Israel. Israel does not exist. And so continuing on in symbolism, the earth is is symbolic of the altar of time. The altar of time, okay, and the staff, and also the earth is symbolic as the bridal chamber. Okay, it's an altar where everything is happening. All the sacrifice of life, right, is happening on earth. The drama and the play is on earth. Sun and moon go around, create our illusions of time. The sun is the source for all things. The light is the source for all things, and then the staff is the star, is the correct. Now you want to write this one down, because this is going back to original thought, and I'm going to show you the trickery in the word. So staff, S-T-A-F-F, okay, is two words, and you can see the prime root of star. Even though we know it's not the original spelling, we can use it. And staff, then the F's are indicative of a pH, because the F is a corruption of the P, and there's two P's there, or excuse me, two F's there, and therefore it's it fulfills the two letters of pH. And so staff is actually the star Phe. So Moses had a staff, right? Moshe El, and it's the star Phe. And remember, the Phe is the virgin woman originally, the star Phe. And so what is the star? It's the sun. That is the Phe. That is the mother star. That is the light, the virgin light that comes down. And Phe implies the eye of creation, P-H-A-Y. A-Y is the eye, and P-H stands for creation. And so star hyphen Phe, you can put a hyphen in it, star Phe. And so literally means the star, and the eye of creation. Okay, the star and so, or the star of creation. But that is the what the staff symbolized that Moshe El carried with him when he went back into Mitzrayim, pseudo-Egypt. And so it was the staff that was guiding him, and he also was told, throw it down at the fiery tree, the burning tree, not a burning bush, but a burning tree, because it symbolizes the tree of life and the sun, and he's told to throw it down, and it becomes a serpent. Well, okay, so the staff then is not only a symbol of the sun, but also a symbol of the serpent, the cobra in particular, which means my supporting power, and that represents, both images represent the sun. You see, even the burning tree represented the sun. You see, and so there's three symbols of the sun: the staff, the serpent, and the burning tree all represent the sun, and therefore the conjunction of three being in the word tray that I told you about, which is tray, is three, and tree. It's the original word for three and tree, tray. And everything's on the tray, right? Everything is on the tray, on the earth. The three is sun, earth, and moon. All of these metaphors, all of these symbols, you look at to begin to get the bigger picture. It's about association, okay? Remember that the letters are symbols, and you can then, and that's how I was able to follow the trail in this diction in order to get back to original thought, because it's knowing the value of the symbol, friends, okay? So the cross, which is represented as the letter T, the cross is the symbol and condition of the highest self-realization. Okay, I'll read that again. The cross is the symbol and condition of the highest self-realization. And so, in other words, it's the apex. It's the apex. And so once Yeshua was nailed to the cross, or the curse, or the burning tree, then he says, it is finished. I am finally here where I needed to be, to crucify the serpent, which Moshe carried around the camp and said, if you can see the serpent, you can live. He had victory of light by conquering the serpent flesh, because that is the illusion that the occultic want to save underground. The joke is on them. And the beauty is you can be set free by knowing the symbol, ladies and gentlemen. It's paramount to be able to read the highest form of communication, which is symbol. It goes beyond words. Words are made up of the symbol. And now we'll get into, there's two definitions that are short in the Encyclopedia of Traditional Symbols by J.C. Cooper, okay, produced by Thames and Hudson. That's an illustrated Encyclopedia of Traditional Symbols by J.C. Cooper. This is one of the two books on symbolism that I read every day. I rotate between them and work my way through the alphabet. I do a different letter every day, so I get a broad influence. I just don't read everything in letter A and then go to the next page. It'd be too boring. I like to skip around and flow through it and come back and start over every month. So every month I go through the book one time and go back and start over. You got to have a discipline to gather at this important knowledge, ladies and gentlemen, of life. It's about your mortality. It's about life in a day without end. It's about transforming up into the great light of that is beyond. It is so profound, you know, where we are going, where we must go, that when we are there, we'll never go to sleep again. In other words, there won't be any bedtime, okay? The energy and the power and the source that we want to go back to is something so beyond our possible comprehension. You know, we're in a dense matter in a grave. Our body is a grave, literally, in the metaphor. We're in a grave. And so if we're in a grave, then we might as well be buried officially in Yeshua, so that then he can say, Lazar, come forth. Ray of light, come forth at the moment you have conquered the self and put on then that immortality, which is the great breath of the wind and fire, the Holy Spirit. Excuse me. So I'm in the letter T, and I just saw two good ones today, and it's transformation and treasure. These are two I'm going to read for you. Well, yeah, and any information we have is limited, Teresa, right? We don't know what they've destroyed or what they've stolen from us. I've just been spending a lifetime gathering the fragments and pulling it back together by the inspiration of Yeshua, who called me out. Transformation, okay? Remember I said that kefe And the followers, it wasn't about a conversion. There's your con. What part of a con don't we get? Oh, and then the word version. And I never looked at that one. Look at the word version. Oh, another version of what? Another version of a con? So we don't want a conversion, you see. And they weren't converted, because in our scripture it says, when you are converted, strengthen the brothers. Well, obviously they weren't converts. If we use that word for a moment, they weren't converts when they were following them, were they? No, they were still trying to figure him out. But what he should have said, and the right word is transformation. When you are transformed, well, what's a transformer? It's a power conductor, right? It takes that great power of the sun and transforms it into a reduced form of power so that the houses don't blow up, right? So that transformer is necessary. So transform is the right word, because we're being transformed in our being. And so transformation, okay? They were transformed on the 50th day, which is a symbol of the Jubilee. 50 days after he rose from the grave, came back. The comeback kid, come back from the dead forever to rule with all power, always with us, never leaving us. Okay? Ever present. And so that was the Jubilee, symbolic of the Jubilee, and the debts being paid. It is finished. And so transformation, the change of the hero or the heroine from some imprisoning animal. There you go, the serpent. The imprisoning animal is the serpent that our body represents, or bird or other form represents the release of the soul, usually after trials and tests, or the intervention of disinterested love from the gross limitations of the material world, or the inner transformation of man's lower nature. That's the bottom line. Transformation of the inner, transformation of man's lower nature into the higher nature. The mind dominating the body, not the body dominating the mind. Not the child running around having a party, but the one who is of a higher consciousness and recognizing he is not of this world, wants nothing to do with it. It'd be nice if the people weren't here, but unfortunately we got a group of people here that make it a stinking garbage pit. Treasure. The other is treasure, because Yeshua said to lay up your treasure in heaven, right? Which means in the throne of your Son, which is your mind, your gold mine, not with a D on it, M-I-N. Okay, the mind, and they're in the and they call it a soul, right? And M-I-N means min for miniature, and of course your head and your thinking capacity, which is a capacitor, is a microcosm of the macrocosm of the sun. That's called the soul, and your mind is called the soul. You see? Of course, they put the soul on the bottom of your feet. Hope you never notice it. So put that treasure in the throne of your Son, which is in your mind. The search for the treasure has a twofold symbolism. Either the search is for earthly treasure, such as gold or jewels, usually hidden in a cave or underground, the finding of, or in your mind, the finding of which brings trials and tribulations, and where greed is the motive leads to final disaster. Or the search is for spiritual treasure, symbolizing esoteric knowledge or enlightenment. The search for the center. No, we talked about that yesterday, right? Center point. We found the center point. It's the throne of the sun, the center of light. For lost paradise, yeah, we're the search for the center, for lost paradise, or the what's called the Holy Grail. And the Grail is the sun, ladies and gentlemen. That is the Holy Grail. It is a metaphor. The Holy Grail is the light, and so on. And the goal is guarded by monsters or dragons. The monster and the dragon is the serpent, and that is your body, the Holy Grail. The serpent is trying to keep you from the Holy Grail. Your physical nature, your lower self, is trying to keep you from the Holy Grail, which is the light. It wants to keep you down. That's why all of the occultists bought into it, because they love the darkness and they hate the light. And they're not going for the Holy Grail. They just stole it from us, you see. They stole the knowledge of what these metaphors mean. Why are they always slaying the dragon? They always have to fight the dragon because it symbolized the conquering of self and the flesh, which is the dragon, which is the serpent, which is the monster. The moon star, the monster is the moon star. Son of man is seed of moon. You see, seed of moon. And we all were seed of moon. Yeshua is seed of the sun, seed of light, and so we have to be in him. That's the only loved seed, the only loved seed. So we have to be in him. That's the perfect seed of light. Okay, so this represents man's quest and discovery of his own true nature. There you go. It represents man's quest for and discovery of his own true nature, and that he's not of this world. Generally, supernatural aid is required in overcoming the trials and monsters, suffering and testing being necessary for spiritual attainment, and man becoming insufficient in himself without divine help and guidance. Thank Yeshua, because we couldn't do it without Yeshua. Yeah, that's it, Mew. So, okay, and next time we get back to this page next month, I'll be reading a bit about the tree. I know it's got a lot to say about the tree. That's a prime symbol. That what is not a tree. Okay, they're just like what is not the serpent. So, okay, got that one knocked out here, and excuse me. And now let's get into real quick Dictionary of All Scriptures and Myths. I think I'm going to take a quick musical interlude, ladies and gentlemen, so I can recover my voice and get some honey going, and hope you're getting the most out of this presentation. I'm trying to cover a variety of important resources. I'm trying to get you the best, okay, of these interpretations and meanings. The foundation, we need a strong foundation. The strong foundation is what helps us to stand, right? And because they gave us no foundation other than the title of Jesus itself was our foundation, and a book that was corrupted and sliced and diced and fried and fricasseed and barbecued. Well, they barbecued the followers that wanted to read it in the beginning. Remember, I don't get what part of Catholicism don't people get? They burn people at the stake, like about 5 million people, or was it 9 or 10? I don't know the number exactly. It's a big number, and still still people want to be good Catholics. I guess that's because of the Scottish Rite and the Knights of Malta and the Knights of Columbus and all that other group of people. You know, they're just they're everybody's on a string. Mind control is perfect in this world, ladies and gentlemen. You are breaking the mold. You are being set free, and congratulations. That is a rare event in nature. Don't go away. I'll be right back. You're tuned into the realpublicradio.net, Free America Radio Network. What they didn't want you to know, but we tell right here. And thank you, Lydia. And thank you for the heart, Ninja. And Mew Mew, thank you. It's okay. I'll be right there. Stand by for the broadcast. Everything's okay. Excuse me. I guess you heard me coming, didn't you? I can't wait till I get my regular break music back on my other hard drive. That gives me a 5-minute break, and I can actually do a little more. And thank you, Shelley. And hello, Barb. Good to have you. Okay. So anyway, we're now in the Dictionary of All Scriptures and Myths, and welcome to any new listeners out there. I'm your host, Desert Owl, a bird who sees in the night and who sees too much and would like to go back to sleep, and just never wake up, because it's a tough pill to follow, but to swallow, but we have to nonetheless eat this pill because we're here. We got to plow the field whether we like it or not, otherwise we'll be on the merry-go-round forever and never go home, and we don't want to go home. I mean, we do want to go home. We don't want to be stuck here, it's a tough deal, and you think of all the suffering people around the world. I mean, they don't even know how to read. They're living in poverty, don't know how to read. Think how fortunate we are when we at least have this information in our hand and can have the opportunity to transcend. It's a miracle when we think of all the others that are unfortunate or in the false traditions and those great illusions. So anyway, I have a definition here now out of the Dictionary of All Scriptures and Myths, and it's the Lamb of God. Okay, but as I told you, the two prime secret vowels are the L and the R, and they switch them out, just like your right hand is really the light hand. It's the hand of light, because the right hand is strong. The right arm is on most people, with the exception of those who are lefties, is the light hand, the power arm, and so it's not right, it's light. And the left, they switched out the L and the R, is on the other side, and it's reft. It's reft of the light. That's why it's weak. You see, so the Lamb of God is really the Ram of God, and the ram represents the sun. And I now got a second witness in here. When we get into a little quote on heaven and hell from Budge, then we'll get the picture, because he went even in the Egyptian, the Metzorem text, then we find out that they regarded the sun as the ram. And so I now have confirmation. I just saw it. I didn't have any book to go by, and now I have a second witness on that as well. So ultimately the confirmation comes. Yeshua taught me to trust the things that he was showing me, and ultimately he always shows me the confirmation because he put it in my mind. I wasn't smart enough to figure this out. He puts it in my mind, and then I trust the things that he is showing me, and then ultimately he reveals it. Okay, so that's the great mystery. Liz, good to have you. Right. So the Ram of God, a symbol of the divine sacrifice. It was, wasn't it? And still is. The logo, having been emanated from the absolute limits, his nature, in the act of manifestation through forms of matter. I've got a cough. I'll be right back. Hang on. All right, let's try that again. So, and all that dwell on the earth will worship him, the beast, everyone whose name has not been written, or title has not been written in the book of life of the Ram that has been slain from the foundation of the world. So preordained from the foundations of the world that the Ram would be slain. Remember when Abraham was told to slay Yitzhak, and Yitzhak volunteered. He said, I'll be willing to do it, as it says in Josephus. He was not a victim, a baby. He was a young adult, and willing to be that sacrifice because he thought he would be the Mashiach. That's why. Well, what happened when he said, don't kill your son that I promised to you? But look over there. You see the ram? There was a ram in the bushes, not a lamb. It was a ram, symbol of Yeshua, who is going to do it for us. Okay? A ram. He was a tough guy. Okay? He was the head of the flock. That's the ram. In all the lower qualities will serve the desire mind. That's the mark of the beast right there. That's the bottom line. We can call money or numbers or barcodes, anything we want, mark of the beast. But the ultimate mark of the beast is this. And all the lower qualities will serve the desire mind, the self-interest, right? The passions, the lower self, the addictions. Every quality whose differentiation is not of the higher order and an expression of the life of the divine, that's Travain, nature, will sacrifice itself at the emanation of the universe, shall be ruled by the lower principle, the beast, for a period of time. And then this next quote, remember, he just gets different quotes from different sources that all shed light on these ideas. That's right, Lynn. Very good. And so on looking into, now this comes from the Meitzarim text, okay, which are speaking truth. They're speaking about the true metaphors and parallels of nature. In other words, what we call Egypt, the traditions that were there were a archetype and also a parallel to what we follow in what we call our Christian tradition. Osiris is the savior. Ra is the great god. Yahweh, you see, they're all parallel character types. So it's telling a story, and we can read the story and see what it says and find out it speaks the truth, even though it was a false tradition. But this is part of the great mystery, ladies and gentlemen. And it says there's nothing evil by itself, but the priesthood was evil, absolutely, because they're having a party while they're giving the papal bull to everybody else, So on looking into the boat of the sun god, we see that this deity has transformed. And sun god would imply, as you hear me say all the time, the great Olavhaim, the great Elohim. That is, the great Elohim is the sun. That's our mother star. You see, and Yeshua rules from the throne of the sun inside in a metaphor. He's everywhere. There's nowhere that he's not. He's spirit, but it's a metaphor so that we can get what is the center of all power? What is the center of all light? It is the sun, of course. Everything came out from the light. We got to see it in its true nature as a logo, means symbolic nature. It's a logo. Okay? We got to see the way they saw it in the past in primitive. Today we got our modern technology, our telescopes. We look at the sun like it's a biosphere. But it had an archaic endearment, as everything came from the light. They knew that. Okay? They knew that. The sun, earth, moon, Venus, Mars, all are children of the sun. They came out of that giant sphere as gaseous magma balls of fire that floated out into the solar system. And then the children of the sun go around the sun because they need to nurture from the breast of the Fae, the mother, the Virgin Mother, that Mary, the Virgin, represented. On looking into the boat of the sun god, we see that this deity has transformed. There's that word transformed again, okay? Has transformed himself, in that he no longer appears as a fiery disc, but as a ram-headed man, okay? There you go. You see, it's the same parallel to what I share with